Shalom and greetings, everybody. Brother Nicholas James Vanderlane, Victory for the People of Israel from By the Narrow Path. Today is the 20th day of the 11th month on Elohim's Enoch solar calendar, February 6, 2020. This video is being presented from the country of Cyprus. This video is titled, Spring Equinox is the Sun's Tabernacle. The Sun is on a circuit. In my last two videos, I've been hinting at the spring equinox being the tabernacle, using Psalm 19, verse 1 through 6. I believe that the Spirit of Truth has given me the understanding, hallelujah, to interpret this particular scripture and explain it. So the heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day the error of speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. So this passage identifies that the sun goes into a tabernacle, a chamber. It also says that the sun is on a circuit, a runner's track. In this video, I will be using Psalm 19 and restoring the understanding of what this is, and proving that the tabernacle chamber is the celestial equator, or the equinox, which is the spring equinox. And I will also be identifying and proving that the race and the circuit is the course of the sun, which is a 364-day race or slash circuit starting on the day after the equinox, where the sun goes north, then comes south to the equinox, goes south below the equinox, has the winter solstice, and then back up to the equinox where it goes into the tabernacle. So the sun completes his 364th day and then goes into his tabernacle, and then he comes out of the canopy. So the definition for circuit here is a roughly circular line or a route or movement that's circular, that starts and finishes at the same place. That's why in Psalm 19 it talks about running a race. But the race is a circuit. It's circular. It's circular. This is like an oval, a nice oval right here. It's circular. This is what's called an alemma, and an alemma is where a camera is placed in the same position, and they take a picture at the same time throughout the year, and it tracks the position of the sun. So this is the sun right here on this picture on this winter solstice. This is the sun on the summer solstice at this point, and then right here is where the equinoxes are, the spring equinox and the fall equinox. This is a Wikipedia article regarding what an alemma is. In astronomy, an alemma is a diagram showing the position of the sun in the sky as seen from a fixed location on Earth at the same mean solar time. As the position varies over the course of a year, the diagram will resemble the figure 8. Here is a diagram that I got from the Washington Post regarding an alemma, but this is just showing the path of the sun. This is a circuit, and you are seeing the sun run its race on this circuit. And as you can see right here, this is from the Washington Post, and this silhouette background is of Washington, D.C., and we know that it's super satanic. And interesting how they line it up. The Masons, they build this stuff. They know all about the sun. They worship the creation rather than the creators of the universe, the Father and the Son, Master Yahweh, the Father and his Son, Yeshua, the Messiah. And so what you see right here is the Capitol. And if you look due east on this day of the spring equinox, you will see the sun rise out of the Capitol. Very pagan, very copycat. It's a counterfeit by Satan. So now let me go ahead and show you what an analemma looks like in the flat earth model. Here's the analemma right here. Here's another picture of an analemma from Sicily, Italy, looking west. And as you can see, it like mirrored, flipped over. This is where the summer solstice is, this is the winter solstice, and the spring equinox. So when the sun sets, it sets at an angle. It doesn't just come straight down. It sets at an angle. Here is a chart or a graph, I don't know what you would call it, of an analemma. And as you can see, it has the months, the Gregorian months, and the Gregorian days numbered. What's really interesting about it is if you look here at the top of the analemma, you can see that the white and the black little time markers are tinier than the white and the black time markers or day markers down here. Even though they have the same time, they appear longer down here for some reason, which is kind of interesting and strange. I don't fully understand it yet. I put here on the portals. This is the fourth portal, the fifth portal, the sixth portal, the sixth portal again, the fifth portal, the fourth portal, third portal, second portal, first portal, second portal, third portal, and then those are the days according to the observations of Enoch in Enoch chapter 72. It equals 364 days. Then you add the day for that the sun goes in the tabernacle, which is 1.25 days, and you get 365.25 days in the solar cycle. It's a solar cycle. And again, this is in quarters. Okay, you have spring for 91 days, summer for 91 days, fall for 91 days, and winter for 91 days. And after that's 364th day, the sun goes into the tabernacle, which is the equator, which I will explain coming up, for a day. And every 4 years, we calibrate that leap day, I suppose. That's how I understand it now. And that equals 365.25 days of the solar cycle. This day, the day the sun goes into the equinox, into the tabernacle, I should say, that day is not part of the 364-day year. It was removed by Job, as I best understand and can prove. So now let me go ahead and show you some of the sun movement on the horizon throughout the year in the lemma. And here we have a little graphic that I made. This would represent the spring equinox in the tabernacle. And then the sun comes out on the first day of the first month and starts to run its race going north to south. And this is on a horizon right here. We're looking east. So at the rising sun, the sun will rise north, and then it will start coming south on the horizon, and then it will come back north again, and it will go into the tabernacle, complete its 364th day, go into the tabernacle, and then when it comes out, it starts rising in the fourth portal. Here's the fourth portal. Here's that same graphic with the portals placed over from Enoch. And these little red lines are the other equinox and solstice events. But these solstice events and equinox events do not happen on a Sabbath. They don't happen on new month festivals. They don't happen on any holy days. This day was removed from the reckoning of the year, and that's not a holy day either, because I believe it was the day that Job cursed and had removed. The day of his birth that he cursed and had removed from the reckoning of the year. I recommend everybody watch that video. Psalm 19 verse 6 says, the sun's going forth is from the end, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. And this is that circuit, north on the horizon, all the way south, and then back to north. And that is a circuit. The circuit, again, is a roughly circular line, route, or movement that starts and finishes at the same place. So I believe that I have explained what the tabernacle is, what the circuit is of Psalm 19. Hallelujah for the wisdom and understanding. I'm blessed to share this with you, brothers and sisters, and I hope that you're blessed by this understanding of knowing the times of our Elohim. So in Enoch 72, I'm not going to read this whole chapter, but it talks about the solar portals, about when the sun rises, and it rises in the fourth portal. And then it talks about the amount of days that it rises and sets in the fourth portal, which is 30. And then it goes on to the fifth portal for 30 mornings and evenings. And then it rises in the sixth portal for 31 mornings and evenings. And then it goes back again for 30 mornings through the sixth portal. And then it rises and sets in the fifth portal for 30 mornings and evenings. And then it rises and sets in the fourth portal for 31 mornings and evenings. And then on that day, speaking of the 31st day of the fourth portal, the days equalize with the night. And it doesn't have to be exactly equal. Equal according to the minutes. This is talking about 9 parts to 9 parts. It's not even talking about hours. It's talking about parts of the day. And it's not giving us minutes. It's just giving us parts. Okay, so you can round up, right? On the day of the fall equinox, it would be maybe 12 hours and 10 minutes of sunlight, and then 11 hours and 50 minutes of darkness. That's 9 parts to 9 parts, basically. Okay, it's not even equalized to the minute. It's equalized to the part. And we're not dealing with decimal parts. And the sun rises from the portal and sets in the west and returns 30 mornings in the third portal, and then 30 mornings in the second portal, 31 days in the first portal, 30 days in the first portal, 30 days in the second portal, 31 days in the third portal, and then on that day, okay, it's back to 9 parts. The night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly to its days. 364 days is exactly a year. And then this is what's important in Enoch 72 verse 33. And the length of the day and of the night, which is 1 day, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. Well, that shortness of the day and the night arise, that's a 0.25 of the day of the solar cycle. So here we have that 1.25 days, and through the course of the sun, these distinctions are made. And then it says, literally, they are separated. This is what the translator put in. He wanted to make sure that literally that means that this year is separated. They are separated. This day right here is what separates it. It's the Tabernacle day, the day that the sun goes into the Tabernacle. And I'm using the R.H. Charles translation, which is like a 100-year-old translation of the Ethiopian Enoch. I think that he didn't have a bias into his translation. So I believe it's probably one of the better translations out there. I don't translate Enoch. This is the best that I can do by the spirit of wisdom and understanding. Yahweh willing, I don't get in my own way of the Ruach of wisdom and understanding when interpreting these verses in English. So here we go again with that same chart. Again, north, south, and then back north, running its circuit, its race, its 364-day race. Jubilees 2 verse 9, and Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign in the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbath of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. So according to this verse in Jubilees 2:9, the sun is a great sign on the earth, and it can be on the earth by casting a shadow. The light goes on the earth, and then casts a shadow on the earth, and we have and it's the great sign. And that word for great sign is oath in Hebrew, and great is gadol. So great sign is oath gadol. The great sign of the sun is the spring equinox, and it is used to calibrate the calendar. It also calibrates the portals that we just read about, as the portals are measured by days. So once you have the spring equinox the following day, according to my understanding, it becomes the first day of the first month, which means that the sun rises in the fourth portal the following day after the spring equinox. Currently, that's how I understand it, but at the same time, I'm having challenges with that. I'm challenging that understanding because in every fourth year, technically every fourth year, how we understand it, there should be a leap day. We have that 0.25 times 4 is 1 day, and we should add a day to the solar cycle 1 day every fourth year to account for it. Now the question is where? I'm working on that. I've been working on that for 2 or 3 weeks now. I have like 4 detailed charts looking at all this data that I've been plugging into these charts to understand what makes sense. And I have 2 possibilities that I'll be presenting But first, I have a couple other videos that I have to do before I can present that. But in the rest of this video, I'll be explaining the spring equinox to be the tabernacle, and I'll be demonstrating this presentation. So that the first day of the first month, the new year begins when the sun rises in the fourth portal. That's how I would understand it, after the equinox event in the stellarium. And I'm going to show you how the sun, on the day of the spring equinox, the sun always returns to this area in the stars. It might vary over thousands of years, but it returns to the same place practically. Okay, here's the sun in the equinox on March 20th, 2020. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adjust the years. And as I adjust these years forward, you're going to notice how the sun returns to the same spot around the same day, and it comes through the whole cycle. It takes thousands of years for the sun to move from constellation to constellation. So the tabernacle for the sun is the spring equinox. Just after the sun runs his 364-day race, which is completing his circuit, he then goes into his tabernacle, as we read. I have identified the tabernacle to be the spring equinox, but the spring equinox doesn't occur at the published timestamp as many believe. So if you look at this is a screenshot of time and date. They say the vernal spring equinox is on Friday, March 20th, 2020 at 5:49 a.m. in Jerusalem. This time is when the sun has crossed the celestial equator, which is an imaginary line in the sky above the equator. So here's what they say what the equinox time that they give us is. The March equinox marks the moment the sun crosses the celestial equator, the imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, from south to north, and vice versa in September. So notice the word crosses. It doesn't say that the sun is dissected by the celestial equator, which means that the sun is directly in the middle of, the celestial equator is directly in the middle of the sun, but that the sun crosses this celestial equator. So if it crosses it, that means that it has a time that it begins, and the crossing would be past tense. Once it's crossed, it would be the time that it ended. So I don't believe that the time that they give us exactly is the real time. I'm working on something. I might be totally wrong, but I'm working out an idea regarding what is the equinox event. And I'm calling this the real equinox. Even though I can't call it the real equinox yet, I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I'm going to be sharing with you a question that I posted on Quora and take a look at these answers. So I think that the equinox is more than a line, a celestial equator line, but it's possibly a zone. And when I was putting this together, I guesstimated that it would take around 15 hours for the sun, from the time that the first part of the sun hits the line to the last time part of the sun exits this line, would take about 15 hours for it to cross or to pass through this thing. So here's a question that I have on Quora. I asked this question on Quora. I said, how many hours does it take for the sun to cross the celestial equator during the equinox? Now, the celestial equator is this imaginary line in the sky over the equator. So I asked, how long does it take for the sun to pass this event? Now, I have a couple of answers, and they all vary. So this person's answer right here, they did that mathematics, and they came up with it's something like 32 hours. Well, a day is 24, so it would be 24 hours plus 8 hours, which is a little bit more than 0.25 of a day. 0.25 a day is 6 hours, so they got about 32 hours. So it's about 1.25 days that they got for this equator event, this equinox event to take place. This person right here, they responded. He said it would take 4 minutes to move 1 degree, or it would take 2 minutes to cross the celestial equator if it moved perpendicular to it. Okay? Now, that's what this guy's responses. 4 minutes, this person said 32 hours. Okay, they're both using some sort of mathematics. I got the answer, an answer that I felt that was satisfactory, and because of that, I'm still searching for this time that it crosses. How I imagine this equinox event according to time and date is you have a line. Now that line could be a line or a zone. We don't know the width of it. But as soon as the sun crosses it, okay, that is the time, that's the timestamp that they give you right here on the equinox event. So maybe that word that they're using on timeanddate.com is a poor word. I don't know. So this is what their equinox timestamp is according to time and date. This is how they describe it. This next slide right here is what I call the real equinox event, that this zone or this equator line is the real tabernacle. Now, how long does this take? Is it 15 hours? Is it 32 hours? Is it 4 minutes? Is it the second that it happens? I don't know. But I would say that the whole event would take up a day. And I'll show you the math in my next slide. But what I have here is, here's the sun. Now, I think that the event should, if it has a beginning, it should begin when the sun touches this line right here at that moment. That's when the event would start, as it enters into this celestial equator zone, as it's moving north, and that as it would crosses this line, this whole time period, as it crosses, is the event, and the event is still going on up to the point where the sun completely exits the line and crosses this zone. So that's how I would understand what the real equinox event should be. From the time the first part of the sun touches it to the last time the last part of the sun exits it. So that's how I would understand this event to be. So now getting back to this math that I'm going to propose, why I believe that the celestial equator could be a day. This is just a theory. I don't know if this math is correct, but this is how I am approaching this to try to find a solution here. So what we are looking at is the analemma, and we know that it takes the sun 365.25 days to start here, travel all the way up, come around, finish this, and finish this day. It's 365.25 days to get back to that point right after it leaves the equinox. So during that time, the sun travels up 23.5 degrees north, then it travels 47 degrees all the way south, and then it travels 23.5 degrees north to get back to this location and to finish the circuit. So that means that it has a total trip of 94 degrees longitude. It's traveling that much longitude over its circuit. So what I did was I took 94 degrees for the total trip. I divided it by 365.25 days, because that's how long it takes to do a full circuit. And then that means that the sun on average travels 0.2573 degrees of longitude per day. So my guess is that the celestial equator of the spring equinox is about 0.2573 degrees in thickness, and should take the sun about a day for the sun to cross it. This is my best understanding right now. I could be totally wrong, but this is just an idea that I wanted to throw out there. So back to the fourth portal. The fourth portal, as I explained, the published time of the equinox, I don't know if it's the real time of the equinox event. Rather, it is the time when the equinox event is completed, when the last part of the sun has exited, transited, crossed past this imaginary line zone called the celestial equator. I think the real equinox event is from when the first part of the sun enters into this celestial zone, or whatever it might be. But the day of that event, when that event happens, that event is the tabernacle for the sun. So the following day, after the sun has completely passed, that following sunrise, the sun should rise in the fourth portal, which is the first day of the first month. So everybody, I hope that you're blessed by the interpretation of the understanding of Psalm 19 regarding the sun going into the tabernacle to run his race, and it comes out as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. Please watch my last two videos, and shalom.